So are you ready for our last, this is the last topic for statistics before we'll have our third examination. So again, we will have a short recap about our previous lesson. This is all about the measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and mode. But we only concentrated on the group, I mean, ungroup data. So pasabot sa ungroup data is the raw data one by one was given. So the first measurement of central tendency was the mean, and that is just very easy because that is just the same with getting the average. So just like this one, as you can see on your screen, you have the items. So to get the mean, you have to add all of them and divide the result by the number of measurements. So kung pila sila kabuok mo to ang divisor, that's the mean. While for the weighted mean, this is one kind of mean wherein every measurement has a corresponding weight. So that is why the formula is the summation of x times w. So every value must be multiplied to the corresponding weight niya. Then the divisor will be the sum of the weights. So the example given last time was all about computation for the grade point average, wherein every subject has a corresponding unit. And the unit will tell you the level or the degree of importance, or that is the weight. So every grade will be multiplied to the corresponding units. Then the sum of that will be the dividend or the numerator. The sum of the units or the sum of the weights will become the denominator or the divisor. The result will be the weighted mean. That is the meaning of the weighted mean. So mean is the first measurement of central tendency. The second one is the median. So what can you recall about the median? Unsa ang difference sa mean ug sa median? Kayla.
Ang sa mean, sir, kay dili na siya i-arrange, tapos sa median kay i-arrange pa para makita kung ano.
Very good. That's a very good observation. Sa mean is, in any order, you can actually compute that. Using your calculator, you press all the numbers, you add, divide. While for the median, there is a need for you to arrange. Even though nga, dili siya kailangan nimo i-enter isa-isa sa imong calculation, ang median, because you are just looking at the middlemost. Ang tunga lang man imong tan-awon, di ba? So wala kay labot, wala kay, it doesn't matter kung unsa tong mga values nga gamay, unsay dagko, katong mga outliers, wala kay pakialam ato kay ang naimuhang focus is only at the middle. That is why median is the middle most value. So ang kailangan lang nimo, as what Ms. Montuya said, is i-arrange lang jud nimo ang imuhang data. That was all about the median. The last one is the mode. We had exercises last time. So the mode is the most frequent, ang pinaka nagbalik-balik. So kung ikaw ang pinakatapulan, mode imuhang gamiton kay pwede na wala calculator kay imuha lang mangmata imong gamiton ani to get the value of the mode. This is a quick approximation of the average, and because of that, this is the most unreliable measure of central tendency. So that's the mean, median, and mode for the ungrouped data. Ang gihatag ato kay mga isa-isa man ka data. This afternoon, we will have a short discussion for the group data. So what will happen kung group data ang ihatag? Well, anyway, karong panahon na, there are a lot of available resources as well as softwares to compute for the group data. And even MS Excel can do that. Diba familiar man ta sa MS Excel? Microsoft Excel. We can actually compute for the median, the mean, median, mode. Uy, na mga bata nga naghilak diri. Palihog kong mute na lang siguro no sa ato ang mga microphone if you are not the speaker. Thank you. So again, kung group ang ato ang data, we can make use of a lot of softwares or even Excel. So for our examination, I will not give you problems for group data kay para dili kay siya complicated. So it will be all about ungroup data lang i-solve ninyo. So for the sake of presentation lang, akong ipakita sa inyo ang solving kay para napud tay naatay idea on how to do this. It's okay, Mr. Angon. This is the example of group data. As you can see, dili siya isa-isa gihatag, kung dili naka-table siya. For example, we have the distribution of the heights of a group of 40 students. Ang gisulti lang diri kay na isa ka estudyante nga ang height niya is 159 to 162 centimeters. Naay upat ka estudyante nga ang iyang height 163 to 166. So wala gi-specify kung unsa jud ang specific nga height aning isa ka estudyante, 159 ba, 160, 161 or 162. Kaning upat unsa ang height ani naabay 163 lang or naabay tulo 166. Di ba dili specific no as compared sa group data. So mas lisod actually kuhaon ang data pag naka-group siya, naka-table. Another example is kanina ay mga marks or score tapos number of students gibutang lang. So naay nakakuha og 0 to 10 ang score, duha ka buok. So wa ka kabalo unsa specifically ang scores nila and so on. And another example is weekly expenditure of the families. So kaning number of families, mo na siya ang frequency. So naay 0 to $1,000, 28 ka buok families. 1,000 to 2,000, 46 ka families. So kaning second column mo na siya ang frequency. So those are examples of group data. The question right now is kung pangitaon nimo ang mean, median ug mode sa group data unsaon pag-solve. So, di ba murag maglisod ka unsaon pag-solve nga naka-table man siya, naka-group man. So we have actually formulas pero mas dali ni siya i-solve if you are using again MS Excel, Microsoft Excel or if you have other mga softwares available. The formula is just equal to summation of the numerator, summation of f times x sub m, where your f stands for the frequency, katong gi-mention ako ganina, katong second column, times x sub m. Kani x sub m, kailangan nimo siya i-solve because this is the class mark. Ang summation ato, i-multiply man to nimo tanan sila, tapos i-add. That is why summation. Summation of f times x sub m. I-divide nimo ang result by n, which is the number of sample. Let's have this one as an example. This is actually murag IQ score man siguro ni sa students. So, naiunom ka estudyante nga ang score nila is 90 to 98. 99 to 107 ay 22 ka students and so on and so forth. How many students all in all? 100. So 6, i-add mo tanan frequencies that will give us the number of students. So ang n nato diri is 100. So, to solve for the mean, since naka-table man siya ang data, we will follow the formula. So di ba kailangan nato balik sa tong formula. Kailangan to og x sub m. Kailangan to og class mark. Kung saan pagkuha sa class mark? Katong interval nato na siya duha ka number, di ba? 90 to 98. 90 is the lower boundary. 98 is the higher boundary or the upper boundary. Madunggan ko ninyo or okay ba inyong audio and video?
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, I'm just checking kay naman ko naka-chat diri nga murag naga-freeze daw sa iyaha. So again, it may be depending on the quality of your connection. So I hope okay ang inyong connection ninyo, no? So let's proceed again. Pagkuha sa x sub m or class mark, imo lang i-kuha ang average sa imong lower boundary and upper boundary. So in this case, for the first class, we have 90 plus 98 divided by 2, 94. So actually, naka-formula na ni siya. Kung gagamit ka Excel, naka-formula na siya. Imo na yung i-drag. So makuha na nimo ang answer. So pas-pas ka ayo. Dili ka mag-take og pila ka oras or even mga several minutes. Actually, dali ra siya. Di ba f times x sub m na sa formula? So imo lang i-multiply kaninga column o kaninga column. So 6 times 94, mugawas dapat ang answer dayon, ana. And then imong i-drag, then that will be the product of other class interval. After that, kuhaon nimo ang sum kay summation man siya, di ba? Summation of x times x sub m. So from 564 i-add nimo down to 1040, that's 11,254. That is the numerator. Unsa i-divide nimo ani? Divided by the number of observation. Pila tanan ng estudyante? 100. So 11,254 divided by 100 is the mean. That is 112.54. So nakuha nimo ang mean sa imuhang data even though wala siya gihatag tag isa-isa. Kaya kung gihatag to siya isa-isa, then masayon unta to imong i-calculate divided by 100. That is computation for the ungrouped. Pero since naka-table naman siya, wala ka kabalo kung pila ka buok, kung unsa nga estudyante, unsa nga score diri ang kaning unom. Group data ang gigamit nato ang formula. Do you have questions? Anyway, I will not let you solve this kind of problem in your examination. I'm just presenting this to you para na mo'y idea on saan pagkuha kung group na ang gihatag. Klaro ba?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you. Now let's proceed to the median. So in ato gihapon ang senaryo, group gihapon table ang gihatag sa inyo nga gusto ni pangitaon ang median. This is the formula. So you have L, which stands for the lower class boundary of the median class, plus we have the quantity of n divided by 2. N is again the number of observation kung pila tanan. Mo ni siya ang total kung i-add mo ang frequency. Kato ganina 100 divided by 2. 2 is constant. Minus na kay less than CF. Ang pasabot aning CF, another concept ang introduced, cumulative frequency. And naman siya less than, so that is above the median class. So we will compute later the cumulative frequency divided by F sub M, which is the frequency of the median class. Tapos, kaninga quantity, i-multiply nimo karon sa I. I is the size of the interval class. Imuhang ihapon. So let's have the same example, katong IQ score of the students. So, unsa ang pagkabalo sa class size or I, katong I niya is the class size. Imong ihapon pila ka buok ni nga number kaning 90 to 98. So kung 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, and 7, 98. Pila tanan? Di ba 9? So actually the same na siya sa 99 to 107, 108 to 116, 170 to 125, and 126 to 134. The same na siya og class size 9. So meaning 9 ka buok scores ang naa sa isa ka interval. So moto siya ang value sa I nimo nga gamiton later when you will be solving. So how about this CF? And may CF nga gi-introduce, cumulative frequency ang tawag ani. And this is very important para ma-determine mo ang median class. Again, i-recall nato what is the meaning of median in our previous discussion. It is the remember. Anyone?
Ang katunga, sir.
Very good, Mr. Gato. It's the middle. It's ang katunga daw, middle. So ato ang i-identify ang middle by using the cumulative frequency. So kung naka-arrange na siya from lowest to highest, di ba? 90 is the lowest, 134 is the highest. So arrange na siya. Ato na lang i-locate ang pinakatunga. So kung 6 ka buok estudyante ang naa diri sa unahan nga naka-score og mga gagmay 90 to 98. So butangan nimo 6 diri. Pakita na tanan. So 6 ang una. Tapos naa daw 22 ka students nga naka-score og 99 to 107. So i-add to nimo na iunom kay estudyante. Dungagan nimo 22, we have already 28, tama? Mo lang i-add. Then 28 ka estudyante karon, tapos na ay 40 ka estudyante, another student nga nakakuha og 108 to 116. So 28 plus 40, you have 68. And so with 68 plus 24, 92, and 92 plus 8, 100. So the last number for the cumulative frequency must be equal to the total frequency. 100 man siya, dapat 100 ni siya. Meaning, ang pasabot ani ika 100 nga data na adari sa 126 to 134. Kung katunga atong kuhaon, unsay katunga sa 100?
50.
Very good. So aha nag-fall
50, sir.
ang 50. Ang katong ika-50 nga bata, aha man siya nag-fall sa 90 to 98, 99 to 107, 108 to 116, 117
108 to 116, sir.
Very good, Mr. Quabo. Kaya mahibal-an man nimo sa cumulative frequency kay ang kaning 68 nga nabutang diri, ang pasabot ani, ang ika number 20, 28 man na diri sa unahan, di ba? So 28 rataman kay estudyante ang diri. So ang ka-29 ng estudyante hanto ika-68 ng estudyante naa nag-fall sila sa 108 to 116. So included dito ang ika-number 50 ng estudyante. So mo to siya ang median class. Nasabtan ninyo?
Sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
So mo ni ang median class. So mo ni ato ang tan-awon karon para i-substitute nato sa formula. So ang formula ipakita again, ang kaning L is the lower class boundary. So ang sa boundary nato is 108 to 116. So kung ang lower nimo is 108, pero lower class boundary man siya, mag-minus ka og 0.5. So this is 108 minus 0.5. What is the result?
107.5.
Correct. So ang lower class boundary po aning 90 to 98 is 89.5. Ang lower class boundary sa 99 to 107 is 98.5. Ang lower class boundary sa 108 to 116 is 107.5 and so on. So mag-minus ang kag 0.5 to get the lower class boundary. Kung saan ning n? Kung saan value ani?
100, sir.
Number. Very good, Miss Chadar. 100. Ito na kay value 100 divided by 250 na ning value later. Minus the cumulative frequency above the median class. So if this is the median class, kaning 108 to 116 nga na ay 68 nga cumulative frequency, what is the cumulative frequency above niya?
68, sir.
Above Mania?
About
28, sir.
28,
28, sir.
28. Yes, 28 divided by frequency of the median class. Unsa may frequency sa ato ang median class 108 to 116?
40, sir. 40.
40. Correct. Valiente. Times, so sa katong I na to, pila ka buok sa isa ka interval?
9.
Very good, 9. So using your calculator, so you have 107.5 plus, imo siyang simplify ang 100 divided by 2 minus 28 divided by 40 times 9, that will give us 112.45. So, halos parehas siya sa ato ang computed mean ganina nga 112.54. Nalahi lang ang decimal. Pero kung mogamit ka og imuhang Excel, dali ra kayo ni siya, kinama kay formula. So again, I will not let you compute this one during your examination kay it's a bit complicated for you on your part. Ang inyuha lang is you will have the knowledge kung giun sa pagkuha. Dami pangutana.
Asa man nagikuha ng ano?
No,
Kung
sir.
9.
Gikuha ang again,
Kanang nine,
gikuha
sir.
ang
Kanang
again,
gama,
this is the class
sir.
interval. This is the class interval size. Katong giihap na to ganina, God. I don't know kung nakaabot ba ka. Nag-ihap-ihap ko gamit akong tudlo.
Sige, sir. Pilit-pilit mo,
90,
sir.
91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. So sa isa ka interval na ay 9 ka buok scores. So ang class size is 9. 99 to 107, 9 po ni kabuok. 108 to 169 po ni kabuok. Pero again, I will not let you compute this one. Kaya dugay kayo mahuman ang exam ninyo kung mag-compute po kinaani.
Sir.
Yes,
About ang
Abay.
Nga naman 28, sir. Dili 68.
Above mo nakabutang dito sa rule na to. Above, above. Cumulative frequency above the median class. So dapat mo follow tag rule kay di man pwede 68 mag-negative man po ang answer pag 68. Di ba kung ibutang nimo din 50 minus 68, di ba negative? So kabalo jud ka na jud kay hint na kung 68 imong ibutang diri mali jud kaayo siya. Kay di man pud siya above. Unsa may nasa above niya, di ba 28? That's why it's 28, not 68.
Sige, sir. Salamat.
Okay, Mr. Daabay. Next, mode. Dapat tayo lahi ang mode. Katulong na makompute po daw ang mode kung group siya. Then you have another complicated formula. The mode is equal to the lower class boundary, same kapon ang meaning sa L, plus, nana po kayo ipang divide. This is another quantity. You already know about F sub M. Ang M, nag-represent, not the median class anymore, but the mode class. Kay mode naman ito ang pangita. So the mode, the frequency of the mode, minus F sub A, take note, is the frequency above the mode class. Divided by 2 times the frequency of the mode class minus F sub A, again above. And ang B is below, frequency below the mode class. And katong I, the same gyapon yung meaning kung pila ka buok ang numbers sa isa ka interval. So that is the formula for the mode. Using the same sample about the IQ scores of the students, 100 students, then we can solve for the mode if we will get first the mode class. Kung ibalik ito ang definition sa mode gani o sa tong mode.
Kung pila ka buok parehas, sir? Ay,
Parehas.
tama ba?
Parehas or tama to siya, ang parehas or ang pinaka nagbalik or pinakataas ng frequencies. Kung mo to siya ang exact word. So diri, yung sa pinakataas ng frequency diri, ang mga daghang nagbalik-balik ng estudyante nga scores.
Wala, sir.
Wala. Pinakataas 6, 22, 40,
40, sir.
48.
Ako, sir.
Ang
40.
40. Muna sila ang
46.
pinakadaghan, pinaka-frequent nga nagbalik-balik og score is 108 to 116. So ang 108 to 116 ang mode class. So what is the lower boundary again? Okay, the same man siya sa median class. What is the lower boundary?
9, sir. 9.
8 minus 0.5.
107.5.
Correct. So, nakita na natin ang mode class. We will now apply the formula. So, since 108 to 116 is our mode class, since it has the highest frequency, so our L is 107.5. What is our F sub M? The frequency of the mode class.
40.
Correct. That's correct, Mr. Quabo. What is our F sub A? The frequency of the class above.
22, sir.
Correct.
22.
Very good. And what is our B, FB? The lower.
24,
8.
sir.
8.
24.
24, sir.
Above and below lang man. Itong pinakalayo. Directly next to the frequency of the
Okay, sir.
24. And again, our I is?
9.
Yes, correct. So using your calculator, you have to replace all those numbers and calculate. Unahon mo nasa parentheses, of course. 40 minus 22 and then divided by, you have 80 minus 22 minus 24. So ang result, ani, multiply sa 9 and then finally, i-add mo sa 107.5. The mode is 112.26. So daghan ka siya kung ka i-follow nga rules, diba? Daghang formula. And if you are going to have the problem during your examination in ani, dugay kay mo mahuman. So I decided to give you ungroup data lang para dili ta maglisod. Well, anyway, when you are going to compute for this, daghan na mag-available gud nga tools and resources. Questions about the measures of central tendency before we proceed?
Answer.
Klaro ba? Nasabtan ninyo?
Sabtan,
Yes,
sir.
Wow, very good. So very fast learners ang mga estudyante. Now let's proceed to another one. This is the last part of our statistical lesson in GE4. The measures of variability. Are you familiar with variability or dispersion? Kung ang sa measures of central tendency ang gikuha nato is katong naa sa pinakatunga, di ba? Like the mean. Unsa ang mean score sa mga estudyante? So nagkuha ta og pinakatunga nga score that will describe them. So ang ato ang gikuha is gi-add tapos gi-divide sila tanan kay that is the most reliable measurement. That is for the central tendency. So sa variability, unsa ginakuha diri? Do you have any idea?
Variable, sir.
Kurt, variable. So nabay variable diri, di ba mga numbers may ginahatag ani? Katong nag-research mo na abay mga gipanghatag nga answer nga variable, di ba mga kung quantitative inyong research.
Nominal, sir.
Number man jud. Number man jud. Kung quanti siguro. Nominal. Di ba usually
Ordinal, sir. Mga ordinal.
ordinal?
Interval and ratio, sir. Wala, sir.
Dili po to siya usually ginahatag kay kung quantitative research man ta, quanti man gud siya nga part kay we are solving. Kung sa quanti nga part, we are just dealing with numbers. So it's either ratio ang pinaka most probable. Dili pud kaayo ang interval kay interval kay naman siya mga negative below zero naman siya mga ana. So wala tay nominal ug wala pud tay ordinal dire. So dili kadto siya atong gina-measure. So actually it's not variable kay kung variable man gud siya letter man gud siya. So it has another meaning. Oh, yes, Mr. Quabo. What is being computed when we get the measurement of variability? Yes, you are recognized because you are raising your
Average, sir.
hand. Again, average. Average is already the mean. So thank you for the guess. But before I reveal the answer, let's have the objectives for our lesson. We have to know what are the different measures of variability. So actually there are 4 common. That will be included in our discussion tonight. And the second one is we should have the ability to calculate the variability for the given set of data. And again, we will only focus on the ungrouped data. Kay kung complicated ang measurement of central tendency for the group data as what you have observed a while ago, complicated yun kaayo ang measures of variability sa group data. Ipakita man ako sa inyo later. So again, balik sa question, unsa yung ginakuha sa variability? So take this scenario para makita nato ang difference of variability versus central tendency. Naay duha ka scores diri karon. We have the group of the boys, their scores in mathematics examination. We also have the group of the girls, the same examination math. Kung papilion mo, aha diri ang mas hawd, ang lalaki, ang babae.
Lalaki, sir.
Of
Siguro,
course,
sir.
siguro kung you are proud of your Jod, grouping, ay sa lalaki ko, kay dapat
Babae, sir.
gender. So, lalaki. Kung babae pod, nganong babae man pod. Kay kung tanaw na to ang central tendency, if the central tendency will be our basis to identify which group performed better, pareha man sila 81, di ba? So it means tie sila. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Tama, sir.
Kasi sa lalaki namang naka 100 on, ay bright kaayo 100. Pero naay naka 60. So actually nabira. It's good thing na mean ang gigamit. So nabira siya, nagamit ang outliers. So na 81. Whereas sa babae, ang highest nila is only 83. Ang lowest nila is only 79. So all in all, the same yung average 81. So kung gamito nato is the measures of central tendency, then we can say that they have the same level of performance. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we are just concentrated on the central tendency, pero kung mo go ta into the measures of variability, we can actually break the tie. Which group performs better? We can answer that one using variability. Because variability, from the word vary, di ba? Sa variability, we are looking at the spread. Ang pagkalahi-lahi sa ilahang scores or sa data. So looking at the graph of the score, di ba na ito yung estudyante sa lalaki nga nakakuha 60, na apoy nakakuha 100. So kung tanaw ni mo, ang ilahang graphing sa ilang score is katag kaayo, spread out. So dako ang ilahang variability. Kung ang girls pwede mo ang tanawon, di ba? Na 83, na 81, na 79, di ba dugol ilang scores? Tama ba? The scores are close to each other. That is why the score of the girls are not spread out. So in terms of variability, gamay ang variability sa girls. So pangutana na po again, which group is better? In mathematics, the lesser the variability, the better. Meaning, mas the same sila og performance. So between the two, asa ang mas nindot? Ang lalaki nga scores very spread out or ang babae nga dili kay spread out ilang scores?
Girls,
Ang
sir.
girls.
Ang girls, sir, kay dili kay spread out.
Very good. So that is the definition of variability. Nakita ninyo ang difference nila sa variability o central tendency?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So ang spread out, so karong gabi atong i-compute is ang pagkalailahi sa mga scores. So that is another feature, another dimension nga ginatan-aw nato sa statistics. Muna sa inyo ang research, if you can remember, di ba na ay mean, tapos na ay standard deviation. I don't know kung nag-follow ba ang format. Nag-compute ng standard deviation sa inyo ha. If your research is quantitative in senior high school, murag wala. Kaya kung naato siya yung standard deviation, gina-measure niya ang kung lailahi ba ang answer sa imuhang respondents, nabay na 1 ang giscore, na uban na 5. Kung dagko to siya, meaning spread out kaayo ang inyong data. Kung gagmay po to siya, meaning halos pare-pareha og answer ang imuhang mga respondents. Mo to siya sa variability. So again, the definition is it represents the amount of dispersion. Dispersion meaning pagkakalat. Diba? Disperse is katag. Magkalat sila, manglakaw sila, kalat. So that's the meaning of dispersion. Variability is synonymous also to dispersion and spread, which denote the width of the distribution. So kung i-graph na nimo siya, karon kay daghan na mga softwares para mag-graph nimo ang imong data. So this is one of the output using the SPSS or the statistical package for the social sciences. That is one software. Are you familiar with that? Nagagamit mo ana sa una? Sa inyong statistics? Murag wala. So that is one of the tools na ginagamit. I-input na nimo imong mga data, then mugawas tayo ng iyahang variability and even ang iyang mga central tendency. And kung makita nimo ang mga graph, makita nimo kung spread out ba siya or dili. The first measurement of variability is range. This is the easiest also. And since this is the easiest, this is also the most unreliable. It only looks at two data points, the highest and the lowest. So the range is equal to the highest minus the lowest. The difference lang man siya of the highest and the lowest observation. So dali ra kay siya i-recall. So kung sa boys, ang highest nila is 100, na nakakuha 100 si Tom, si pangalan ato. And then ang lowest is 60. So the range of the boys is 40. While sa girls, ang highest nila is 83 and lowest is only 79. So what is the range of the girls? 4. So between the two, which is higher? Of course, 40. So it means that mas kalat ang score sa boys. As compared sa girls, ang score sa girls is mas uniform. So in other words, we can say that the girls are more homogeneous. When we say homogeneous, almost the same sila, almost uniform ang ilahang scores as compared to the boys in terms of math ability based on the given data. Actually, sample naman po ito siya kay lima-lima ra may gikuha. Do you have questions about the range? So yun lang siya, no? Highest minus lowest lang siya. The second measurement after the range is the mean deviation. So from the word deviation, ning deviate siya sa mean. Unsa iyahang kalayon sa mean. So magamit gihapon nato ang previous knowledge sa central tendency kay na may mean. So it means the average of the summation of the absolute deviation of each observation from the mean. So ang formula makita nimo na siya symbol aning kaning duha ka ana, no? Kita ninyo na. That is the symbol for absolute value. Kinsay naka-remember unsay pasabot sa absolute value? Anyone? Excuse me. Wala naka-remember sa absolute value. Kuhaan ba na itong absolute value sa x sub I minus x bar? Mo ni siya ang kaning x sub I, mo to siya ang value, ang x bar mo to siya ang mean. Summation of the deviation
Describe.
divided by n. Valiente, what is absolute value?
Sir, distance from 0, sir.
Very good. And when we get the distance from 0, when we get the distance, kung distance siya, it means that it's always positive. So the absolute value is the positive value of the difference. That is why, kung na to ha, isolve na to karon ang boys, kaya kamo may mo solve sa girls later. Mean deviation for the boys, ang given ani is kanilang duha ka column. Kaning third column, kita may muhimo ani supposedly. So si Frederick 70, si Russell 95, si Murphy 60, si Jerome 80, si Tom 100. Kung sa nato lang average, so apply yun na to tong mean ng formula. So summation of x, so 405 di ang tanan, 70 plus 95 plus 60 plus 80 plus 100. Divided by pila sila kabuok 5, so 81. So para makuha ang mean deviation, i-minus na to ang ilang score sa mean. So unahon sa si Frederick, 70 minus 81. Di ba negative 11? But since we are getting the absolute value, it's now positive. Because absolute value is, again, distancia is the positive value. Nakuha ninyo?
Sabot, kuha sir.
Very good. Next, si Russell, mo siyang x sub 1, x sub 2, kaya mo siya x sub I silang tanan. So x sub 1, 70, x sub 2, 95 minus 81, you have 14. X sub 3, 60 minus 81, negative 21, pero absolute value matong kwaon, so it's positive 21. Jerome, 80 minus 81, negative 1, pero absolute value, that's why, is positive 1. And finally, we have x sub 5 kay Tom, 100 minus 81, it's 19. So x sub 5 lang tataman, kay 5 lang man sila kabuok. So kato mga deviation, iyang kalayon, distance niya sa mean, gikuha na nato, i-add to tanan. 11 plus 14 plus 21 plus 1 plus 19. The result is 66. Now, looking back at the formula, nanatay 66 diri, yung divide nato na sa number of observation. Pila to sila kabuok tanan? Pila sila? Kalalaki nga gi-include.
5, sir.
105, sir.
Oh, so i-divide 66 divided by 5. What is the mean deviation for the boys? 13.
13.
Very good. Now, compute for the girls. I will give you time to compute, and if you have the answer, you please send your answer to our chat box. So there is no need to compute for the mean, kaya nagihatag naman dito ang mean, 81, the same siya sa boys. The deviation is also here. Minus lang nimo 82 minus 81, 80 minus 81, then don't forget absolute value siya, so positive tanan. And then divided by the number of observation. Very good. The first one to give the correct answer is Mr. Handumon. Handumon, you got the correct answer. Nag-follow po si Miss Kadar and Alburo. So, kinsa ang mas gamay o result sa mean deviation? Ang babae, ang lalaki?
Babae, sir.
Ang babae. So, it means
Babae, sir.
supported gihapon ang answer ganina sa range nga mas homogeneous ang babae kaysa lalaki. Kay mas gamay, the smaller the better. The smaller the value of the variability, it means mas uniform, mas compressed ang ilahang scores. Mas dako ang variability, mas spread out ang scores. So mas dako ang boys, so mas kalat ilang scores. Nasabtan ninyo, no? The duha na kabuok,
sir.
range. Thank you so much, range and mean deviation. We still have the third measurement, and it is known as the variance. What is variance? It is the average of squared deviation from the mean. So kung makita ninyo ang formula, pare-pareha siya dagway sa mean deviation. Tanawan ninyo, we will look at the sample variance. We will not use the population variance kay sample naman itong ginakuha diri. Ang population, daghan maguni kaayo siya. So ang difference lang nila is ang denominator. Since we are using sample variance, the denominator will become n minus 1. Ang numerator niya is summation of the deviation, di ba? Tapos gi-square nato. Halos parehas lang siya, ibalik nato sa mean deviation. Ang formula sa mean deviation, di ba pare-pareha siya dagway? Nasa x sub I minus x bar. Balik na ko ha. Balik na ko dito sa variance. Tanawa, parehas na sila og formula. Di ba x sub I minus x bar? Ang difference lang siya is, so di na siya absolute value pero gi-square. So, ang pasabot ato, pwede na ito gamiton ang ato ang gikuha ganina nga value katong x sub I minus x bar. So, let's continue. Solving the variance for the boys. So, di naman siya absolute value, di ba? Kaya wala gikuha naman itong absolute value nga symbol. That is why ninggawas ang negative 11. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So, nga nung gikuha, yung sa pagkuha ang negative 11?
Gi-minus ang 81 og 70, sir.
Very good. That is a deviation. Thank you, Jocelyn. So 70 minus 81. And then naman kay square, di ba? So you have to square 11. Kung i-square nimo ang negative, the answer is always positive. It's because negative times negative is equal to positive. Kwabo, you are raising your hand. Do you have any questions?
Asa ang 81 ka ng mean, sir?
Mean. Muna siya ang mean deviation. Katong word nga mean deviation ganina. So, gikwaan na to siya og iyang distance from the mean. Unsa siya kalayo from the mean. So, 70 minus 81, muna siya. So, x sub 1 minus x. Next, 895 minus 81, 14. Next, 60 minus 81, negative 21. And so on and so forth. Since naman siya is square, So that is why nag-positive na siya. Kaya negative 11 times negative 11 is positive 121. 14 times 14 is 196. Negative 21 times negative 21 is positive 441. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 19 times 19 is 361. That is why you have the square. Mo man ni ang importante kay mo man ni i-add na to. Ang summation ani 121 plus 196 plus 441 plus 1 plus 261 100 1,120 mo ni siya ato ang numerator. Unsa ang denominator gani kay sample variance man ni siya. Unsay denominator? Nganong 4 man ni?
Minusan man og isa, sir.
Very good, Alburo. So, naka-remember si Alburo sa formula ganina sa sample variance, n minus 1 ang denominator. So, using your calculator, you divide 1,120 by 4. Therefore, the variance of the boys is 280. Yes, katong nag-raise a hand a while ago. Do you have questions? We are still on the computation for the boys. Wala pa ang girls.
Sir, nalibog ko sa 4, sir.
A-compute na ko sa inyo later ang sa girls. Ang 4. Kani?
Opo, sir.
Denominator. Sa formula na siya, Mr. Quabo.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Pero ako kani n minus 1.
Kuan man to sa isa ba kay.
Oo,
Kasama
kuhaan
sa
isa.
formula.
So kung unsa imong n, kuhaan mo isa. Mo to siya ang imong gamiton nga denominator.
Sige, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Isa pa na question. Kung wala na, please compute for the variance of the girls. Go. Then, i-chat na lang diretso ang answer. Ganina ang pinakauna, ang pinakapaspas kay si Handumon. Let's see sa karon kinanata. Ang pinakauna nakatag is si Jocelyn.
Ate, loading, sir.
Ang uban is loading.
Opo,
Okay
sir.
lang.
Wala
It's
signal
okay.
din.
It's okay. Ang
2.5,
importante
sir.
na sabtan ninyo, no? Ang importante na sabtan ninyo. Tama ba?
Tama,
Sabtan
sir.
ninyo.
Sabtan, sir.
Okay. Jocelyn, congratulations. Your answer is correct. And also
Yes,
the
sir.
rest who got 2.5 as your answer. Pero si Jocelyn ang pinakapaspas, pinakakusog og internet karong gabi una. 2.5 is the correct answer. So again, i-compare nato ang boys ganina pala lang score 280 for the standard for the variance. The girls 2.5. So the same gihapon ang ato ang conclusion. The values of the variance reveals that the score of the boys are more spread out than that of the girls. So mas preferred gihapon ang score sa girls kay the smaller the value of the variance, the better. Sabtan ba nato? That is
Sir.
So again,
Yes,
recall
sir.
na to ha. Range, highest minus lowest. Second is the mean deviation. Katong minus na to siya sugod sa mean. Pero absolute value pa ang gigamit. The third is the variance. Minus gapon na to siya sa mean. Pero gi-square na to ang ilang difference. Gi-add tapos gi-divide og n minus 1. The fourth and the last one for the measures of variability is the standard deviation. And this is actually easy. Kaya nga naman, ning subay lang man siya sa variance. The definition of standard deviation, this is the pinaka ginagamit sa statistics, standard deviation, and the most reliable measurement, mas gamay man gud siya compared sa variance. The definition is the square root of the variance. So kung naa na kayo nakuha na variance, square root lang na siya. Mao na ang standard deviation. So going back to our example a while ago, ang boys nga scores, ang ilang variance is 280. You get your calculator and you get the square root of 280. Ang result is approximately 16.73. Tama ba? That is the standard deviation for the boys.
Sir, 280, sir. Ay,
Square root, 280. Na may square root, di ba, sa calculator? Di ba, 16.73, taas kayo siya, i-round off lang siya up to 2 decimal places. 16.73.
tama, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for verifying, Mr. Alburo. And for the girls, ang ilang variance a while ago is 2.5. I-square root ang 2.5. What is the square root of 2.5?
1.58, sir.
Yes. 1.5811 ang taas kayo siya, pero round off
1.5.
lang siya to two decimal places is 1.58. So the same gihapon, the comparison of 16.73 and 1.58, still, the girls has produced a smaller value. Therefore, we can also say that mas okay ang score sa girls in terms of variability as compared sa boys. Tas subay ninyo ang upat. Range,
Okay, sir.
deviation, variance, and standard deviation. Ang standard deviation, again, kailangan mo i-follow ang computation sa variance. Kaya kung wala kayo value sa variance, wala man kayo square root. Tama ba? Mo to makuha nimo ang standard deviation. But anyway, in your examination, we are a combination of concepts and computation. Pero sa yun lang po ng mga computation akong ihatag sa inyo ha. Because your examination is just good for 1 hour. The question right now is how about for group data? How do we compute the variability? So again, this is just for the sake of presentation. This will not be included in your examination. Kaya again, it takes a lot of time and also a lot of expertise para ma-solve din ninyo ang group data. I-present lang ako sa inyo ang process. So we will just look into the variance and standard deviation since mo sila ang commonly used when we talk about variability. So much for the words. Let's proceed to the formula. Tanawin niyo ang formula, di ba? Complicated siya. Summation of F times the quantity of MP, this is the midpoint or class mark na dimension ganina. So connected ta sa katong lesson ganina sa group data of central tendency. So class mark ni siya or midpoint minus X bar ni siya, the mean, tapos square pa dyan mo siya divided by N minus 1 because we are dealing with sample. So before I entertain questions, ako asang i-present ang formula ha, kay basig ma-answeran na inyo ang questions later. So kaning numerator is probably complicated on your part, makita ninyo, pero it's just the summation of the products. Kung makaman mo ang mga product kung bawat, di ba sa group data naka-table man to siya, so bawat row na i-value. So the product of the square of the difference of each class mark and the mean product ato niya with the frequency. So you have to calculate first the mean, kay kung waka kabaloon sa mean sa data, then waka iba, i-minus. Then after that, kung na kay mean, pwede na ka magkuha sa deviation. And so on and so forth. So kung naatay inaani nga problem, this is already extracted from the MS Excel or Microsoft Excel. Kaya ang Excel, makakompute man good siya. Kaya you can have different formulas, makompute nimo siya. So kung ang given is kanilang first two column, mo man siya ang given sa problem na ipakuha ata og variance. So ato ang kuhaon ang midpoint. Ang midpoint is class mark, so 28 plus 29 divided by 2. Para sa gi-present ganina, so 28.5. Tapos i-drag lang nimo pababa para makuha nimo ang scores sa other nga mga row. Followed by, di ba, i-multiply nimo ang frequency og midpoint para makuha ang mean, katong formula ganina sa mean, if you can still recall sa first PowerPoint ganina. So 4 times 28.5, you have 114. Tapos i-drag na po na nimo pababa ang formula para makuha nimo ang mga product nila. Tapos i-auto-sum nimo, kana may auto-sum dito, that is the summation of F times the class mark 2014 divided by the number of sample which is 100, that is already the mean. 20.14 ang nigawas. So gibutangan ako 20.14 tanan kay para ma-minus-minus na ako ang bawat isa sa midpoint. Midpoint minus the mean, mo ni siya nasa formula sa variance. So kuhaon mo ning isa-isa, 28.5 minus 20.14, 8.36 and so on. Drag mo pababa, then you have all the values. Di ba naman to siya squared? So katong 8.36 is square na po mo siya. So 8.36 times 8.36, 69.89. Then you drag again para makuha na po mo ang mga results. Kailangan na siya formula sa others. Then, ang last part is katong square ni mga value, i-multiply ni mo sa column number 2 sa frequency. Kaya di ba F times the quantity of MP x bar squared mo to siya. So 4 times 69.89. That's why you have 279.56. Tapos i-drag na po na nimo siya tanan para makuha nimo ang katong 9 times 40.5, 12 times 19.01, and so on. Then kuhaon nimo iyahang sum, which is 1,747.08. That is the numerator. Ang denominator nimo is, di ba, n minus 1? So 100 minus 1 is 99. So 99 ang imuhang divisor sa 1,747.08. So the result is 17.65. So that is the variance for the group data. So again, it's a bit complicated on your part, especially if you are doing this for the first time. So I'm just presenting to you the process. And anyway, you will not be required to perform that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
God.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about Alburo? Nag-raise og hand man si Alburo. Gusto niya siya mo solve og inaani ka lisod.
Kasi kanang nabantay na
Alburo?
sir, katong sa 20 o 21 sir, gamay lagi kayo ang iyang kuan sir. Kanang iyang computation sir, kaysa sa 18 o 19.
Kasi pasabot yung mga 2021.
Kanan
Okay.
ganin sa class limit sir or is sir. Gamay lagi siya computation sir sa pinakalasan.
Kani, dali?
Yes sir.
Kaya nagsugod man ka diri sa 0.13 ang imuhang mga value nga i-consider tanaw ra gud diri pa lang daan sa difference between the midpoint to the mean 20.5 minus 20.14. Diba? Almost the same ang value sa 20.5 o 20.14. Diri pa lang daan
Tama.
gamay imong value. So affected ang imuhang next value kung i-square nimo ang 0.36 times 0.36 times 0.36 gamay jud siya. So gamay
Sige sir.
ay sa 17. So gamay jud siya. So
Sige sir,
actually ano
salamat
siya,
sir.
mura siya og spectrum, di ba nga dako siya tapos ning gamay tapos ning balik tapos siya og dako. Ana, di ba? Murag nagpaano siya, mura siya spring. If you
Sir.
can imagine that, Alburo. Thank you
Yes
so
sir.
much for that question. Na-satisfy ka sa answer, Alburo?
Yes sir, salamat sir.
You're welcome. Isa pa to nag-raise og hand ganina nga mura gusto mo solve. 17.65 is the answer for the variance. Now, what is the standard deviation? So, sayon lang kaayo. Kaya na naman kay 17.65, kuha lang nimo ang square root. So, the standard deviation is the positive square root of the variance. That is the definition of standard deviation. So, what is the square root of 17.5? Kato ganina. Paano siya i-forward kay it's more on the same man gihapon ang yang problem. So, what is the square root of 17.5?
4.18 sir.
4.20? O kung imo siya i-round off to the two decimal places. So very good. Kuha na to. So it's a bit complicated actually. Pero again, when you will be doing your research, your statistician will be the one who will compute for the standard deviation, for the variability of your study. So ang imuhang knowledge lang about this one as a student is kabalo ka kung giun sa to pagkuha. Nagets ninyo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess that's the end of our presentation for statistics. So we are done with another section of our syllabus, statistics. So on Friday, we will have our next meeting because on Wednesday, you will have your examination, third examination. Remember, the coverage is all about statistics. So it will start with the definition of statistics, inferential, and descriptive up to kaninga lesson. So I will now stop recording.